The sun rose the next morning with a glorious conflagration of pink and yellow. Book 1, Eragon. Chapter 2, Palancar Valley. Welcome to Eragon and Back Again, a podcast where we explore Christopher Paolini's inheritance cycle, one chapter at a time. I'm Darien Smartt.
And I'm Lucy Hart.
And it begins again.
It begins again.
We can't do that every time.
We can't do it again. We can't do it every time.
So we've entered chapter 2.
Yep.
Where things happen, but not many things happen.
No.
Lucy, it's been about a week since we recorded last.
Yeah.
We've not actually released any episodes yet, so we have no feedback from our listeners.
No, not yet.
But I've been reflecting on it, and I do believe that it would be most valuable to do chapter summaries.
Yeah.
Taking a page directly from my dear friend Robert Gamer and Meg Peterson, who do a podcast about the Alice Oseman collection of works.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't pronounce the name of their show because it's named after the school from Heartstopper. And I don't know, gang, there's a lot of consonants where I don't think there need to be consonants. But they always have the best chapter summaries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to steal directly from their strategy.
Yeah.
So this chapter we're covering Palancar Valley. I have written a summary. May I read it for you?
Yes, go right ahead.
Journeying out of the spine, Eragon returns to Carvahall, the village near his home. After the unsuccessful hunt, Eragon attempts to trade the mysterious stone for some meat from the butcher Sloane. After initially agreeing for a measly 3 crown, Sloane violently changes his mind when he learns that Eragon found the stone in the spine and tries to force Eragon out of the shop. Sloane is interrupted by his daughter Katrina and the smith Horst. Horst buys a large amount of meat for Eragon, but refuses to take the stone, instead telling Eragon he can work at the smithery that spring. Eragon returns to his home he shares with his uncle Garo and his cousin Rowan. Though Garo is initially displeased at the arrangement with Horst, he agrees that selling the stone to traveling traders is the best option.
Yes. I am really glad you did write the summary because when I was listening to it, I was just going through the motions of listening to it and I was just yeah. And then all of a sudden it started going off and I'm like, what chapter am I on? And I just had started the next chapter that we're doing and I was like, shit, hold on, pause, I can't listen anymore.
Yay!
I'm gonna get it all confused. So that helps me being like, what happened in the second chapter again?
Yay!
So
I'm
that's
glad.
very nice.
And I think it also helped. We covered these are the heavy points, and now we can actually talk about things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
For the structure of our show specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I want to talk about is oh my god, there are so many names of things.
Yep.
We have hit this is what makes it high fantasy.
Yep.
Is that I started underlining just names of, the Anora River, rushed far below, heading to Palancar Valley. A bit past noon, he heard the Igulada Falls, blanketing everything with a dull sound of 1,000 splashes.
Mm-hmm.
Far in the distance, it flowed past the village Theransford and the lonely mountain Utagard.
Yep.
And yes, I'm going to use that voice every time things get a little high fantasy.
There you go.
Because I think here's, and I got to be cards on the table, I don't care for high fantasy.
Fair.
It's not my favorite. It's not.
There's a lot of names and history behind the names.
Yeah.
Because we've mentioned Lord of the Rings and stuff, and that's very much how it is. The sword has a name, and then the person who wrought the sword has a name, and then the tool they used also has a name, and it just goes back and back and back, and the anvil that they shaped the sword on has a name, and the furnace has a name, and it can be very confusing very quickly, especially when the names are 4 syllables long.
Yeah. I think the distinction between fantasy and high fantasy is so much in the world building and how the world is so intensely fleshed out that you often get names of things and places that cards on the table that doesn't apply to the story or the adventure that my character friends are on. I don't need to know this. And yet honestly, the river could have just been the river.
Yeah.
The mountain in the distance.
Yeah. I agree. I think it does that. I also do think that it makes it more real for us,
Mhm.
that because like these people wouldn't not have named these things. So
Yeah.
it's, well, we're just like, oh my god, there's so many names. It like, yeah, it makes sense. It does help us bring us into this world and makes the world more alive.
I'm very jazzed about this thing where I'm gonna dunk on it every single time, and Lucy's, who actually kind of likes it, is gonna defend it. And I think, is that okay if that's the thing?
Yeah, like
'Cause it
that's
is-
fair.
And I'll say it's not really me making fun of it or anyone who likes it. I just don't.
Yeah,
I think
just
that,
not the
and
high
it's-
fantasy.
and not
fan.
because I think it's bad or wrong or incorrect. It's just me acknowledging the reason I have not read more high fantasy is because I just don't care. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't know. But I'm excited to do this.
Yeah. I
So-
will say it is hard for me. Like, I've tried to read other high fantasy books and I get really frustrated with like the main character specifically. Like, I've read a couple books where I'm like, I can't stand the main character, so I just stop reading it.
Yeah.
And so I've only read like a few high fantasy. I think most of the fantasy books I read have been young adult or like in that
Yes.
gray
Mhm, mhm.
between adult fantasy and young adult fantasy. It's kind of been in the middle there, just because I personally just find it more palatable than anything.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to be said for the authors who have
Mhm.
historically been placed in the genre of like adult high fantasy versus YA fantasy.
Yeah.
Even when you read a book and you're looking at it and you're like, this is high fantasy. Why is it oh, because the main character is a young woman and it's written by a woman or a person of color.
Yeah.
Or these character, these not people are not characters, but these like traits,
Individuals, yeah.
that historically in publishing certain genres have become these like only certain type of authors get to write these kind of stories.
Mhm.
And that comes with certain biases and certain ways that certain characters are treated. I think another reason I don't get into a lot of high fantasy, I don't much care for the way women are treated.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
It's a lot of doing the like stereotypical man go hunt, woman stay home and cook kind
Yeah,
of
and then
mentality.
just-
not just to cover our asses, I suppose. It's not to say that all of them are like that.
No, but lots.
it is a trope. It is a cliche. It is like
Mhm.
when you think about that is what typically it goes to.
Yeah. Also for me, it's the like violence that is like perpetrated against the women characters,
Mhm.
done for shock value or to like garner an emotional reaction from the male character who has a relationship to this woman, and
Yeah.
not and that happens. That's also something that I personally just do not want to consume in my media.
Yeah.
That's not for me.
And that like there's a book I'm reading currently. It's called The Wolf of the North, and
Mhm.
it's like a trilogy. I'm like almost done with the first book, and that's like this main character, can't remember his name. you would think that I would know his name, Ulfric or Wolfric or something. I don't remember.
Stellar.
And he is in love with this like childhood friend, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a moment where Ulfric's like he steps into his true potential or true power after she is threatened, and that I feel like that's just the I feel like we're going off the rails a little bit, but it's kind of like the tropey where man
Was she threatened or did something bad happen?
she was threatened
Okay.
because like this one dude was beating Ulfric up, and he says, we're gonna turn your girl into a woman, and then he gets a lust expression, and that's when Ulfric snaps and he goes abso-fucking-lutely not and beats the shit out of him.
Yeah,
And
and
so
I'm glad she didn't experience sexual assault.
Yeah,
for that
she
to happen,
didn't.
But
Like, and I'm so nervous it's getting to that point, and I'm really hoping it doesn't.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
But
please don't.
Please don't. I think she is going to die, and that's when he.
Oh, I hate to see it.
Yeah, I think that's where it's leading up to. I'm almost done with the first book. I think I have like 2 more hours in it, and I think that's where it's leading up to.
So give Paolini some credit. I mean, granted, we've only met 2 female characters so far, and one of them we didn't even get her name. But
Mhm.
I'll excuse that because it was a shade, and that was like
Yep,
all
yep.
mystery. And we are, as we discussed during our prologue, that elf lady's pretty cool, and we really like her.
Yes.
And in this chapter, we meet Katrina, his
Yep.
daughter, who we don't have a lot from her, but we do get her like trying to stand up to her father,
Yep.
trying to defend Eragon when her father's being unreasonable, and
Yep.
and we learn that she heard the fight starting and ran to get Horse the blacksmith because
I feel like she got Horse specifically because she knew that Horse could intimidate Sloane in a way that no one else could.
Yeah.
Because Horse is like giant.
yeah, and he's also like he's the smith, he's well respected,
Yeah.
he's financially well off. He even says like it wouldn't do because what happens is Eragon's like, hey, I need meat.
Yep.
I don't have any money, but I've got this really nice rock. I know it's valuable. Trade it for me. He's like, well, if you don't know how much it's worth, I'm only going to give you 3 crown. And Eragon's like, that's nothing. Well, then wait for the traders. Well, we don't know when they're going to come. I can't wait. All right, fine. I'll just take whatever you'll give me. And then when Sloane finds out it's from the spine, he freaks out. He's like, I want nothing to do. He doesn't say the word with your devil magic, but it's implied.
Oh, yeah. Because he's take your magic stone or sorcerer's stone or something like that. Yep.
And then Horst rolls up and is like, all right, well, then Eragon will sell it to me and I'll buy the meat for him then. So what did you need? As much as I can get, great. We'll fill up all these bags.
And then he's like, the best you've got, which I just thought was so good.
And Sloane doesn't want to do it. And Horst is like, it wouldn't do well not to sell to me.
Yeah, because where do you think Sloane gets his knives? Yeah, and sharpened and stuff.
His supplies, exactly. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, because that's what my big thing. He's like, if you don't do business with me, you can basically cut. If you break a knife, you're fucked. You're not getting anything from me anymore.
Yeah. So you can. Yeah. So we get the way. So talking about this. So just finishing my thought on Katrina. Even though Sloane sends her, he's like, we'll talk about go back to the house. And she does, but it's her dad. It's a little different, but she is described as being determined. She stands up for Eragon.
Defiant.
So I do want to read the description of her hair.
Oh my god, I love that when she tosses it. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. Where is it? I underlined it because I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it's very good.
Katrina stepped out from behind Horst and tossed her auburn hair like a spray of molten copper.
Yeah,
and I'm like, whose love interest is this? Because I know it's not Eragon's, but that's a love interest AF description. Yeah. I did spray of molten copper.
I do really like that. And it's because it's she's with Horst, the blacksmith, and it's kind of like a correlation in that that she got him and her hair looks like a spray of molten copper. So I do really like her because she's I feel like she is trying to de-escalate the situation. She's just sell him and then we can go eat.
Yeah, we can have we can have dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she gets sent off and she's I think that's a big thing because she does come off as I want to stay and fight for Eragon, but this is my father who just asked me to leave. And I think we also learned that, I don't know. You might cut this out. Is this where we learn that Sloane's wife died, or is that in the next chapter?
Yes, no, it's at the end. So it's at the end of the chapter. Eragon ultimately asks Horst, why did he react? He tells him what was that all about? He's like, well, he was willing to buy it until he found out I got it from the spine. He's got a problem with that. You should ask your Uncle Garo. He knows more than I do. Yeah. And what we learned is that the wife, she went over the falls. Yeah. She died in the mountains.
Yep, she died in the mountains.
But even Garo is that doesn't feel like a reason for him to have reacted like that to you so aggressively. Yeah. But we also learned that Sloane has always been
just anti-Eragon. Yeah.
It's described as the butcher had already always treated him with disdain, as if he were something unclean.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point too, because when we walk into the butcher, now when you think of if you think about stereotypical butcher place, you think of guts and blood and kind of not very clean, kind of maybe in the gore area, but you walk in and Eragon describes the place as the entrance into the butcher is so clean. It's the owner had scrubbed all the grooves so thoroughly. And so I feel him viewing Eragon as unclean goes against his character, because Sloane's character is I need things to be clean, I need things to be very orderly, it needs to be this. And I think, because I can't remember if it's in this chapter or the next chapter, but we learn that Eragon Next chapter. Okay, so I'll hold that. But yeah, so I think that's a really good comparison of being Eragon is dirty and Sloane doesn't like him because of that, because Sloane likes things clean.
Yeah, and I think the use of one thing to be with disdain, and perhaps you can assume that it's oh, well, we already know the family is financially not super well off. He comes in do you even have money? We know Eragon was hunting for the meat because they really needed it. So we already know that. But the description of him being something unclean is different than just being dismissive because they are not wealthy. Yeah. And that, I think, is telling us a little bit more about Eragon. But also tells us a lot about Sloane, because we discover quickly that Eragon is not disliked by the village.
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
the
no.
blacksmith comes in and Katrina defends him. So this is clearly a Sloane-specific problem.
Yeah, and it's also like at the end of their interaction, Horse is like, "Hey, come eat with us," and he's like, "No,
Yeah.
I really need to get going." So it's like Eragon isn't despised by the village. He's not
Mhm.
seen as an outcast. It's just Horse that has this attitude towards him.
And you're like, this man's going to be a hashtag problem for several reasons.
I think we do get a little bit of like Eragon might be a little different because one, he does venture into the spine where no one else does, which is said in like I think the first chapter where
we talked
no one
about
else goes in. And it's also like it kind of gives us like a little like because I think he talks about his cousin Rowan and then his uncle Garrow.
Yes.
And so that kind of sends us like where are his parents?
Yeah.
Like he's staying with relatives, not necessarily his immediate family.
Mhm.
So that also sends us a little like moments.
Mhm.
And then we do explore that more in the next chapter.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about like Eragon going into the spine again, because it talks about how like, you know, a few people could stay in the spine for so long without suffering an accident. Eragon was one of those few, though not through any particular gift, it seemed to him, but because of persistent vigilance and sharp reflexes. So I think touching on what we talked about the last chapter, learning more about Eragon, is that that line gives us that he doesn't view himself as being like special, or like because he goes into the spine and no one else can come up here with that. Like that isn't like, it's a point of pride for him because it seems like exploring the last chapter, it allows him to potentially feed and take care of his family.
Yes.
But not something that he views as making him inherently more special or more like brave or more worthy than other folks.
Yeah.
He's just like, well, I'm not anything special about me. I just have like, I keep my head on a swivel.
Yeah.
And I just have like quick reflexes because I'm 15.
Yeah. And I think it also shows like he's curious because he does. I think like that's like a big factor in his character. He's just a curious person where he continuously goes back. And I think like he also sees the spine as something, as an huge opportunity specifically with feeding his family, like you mentioned, because no one else is going there. So all the herds and stuff are basically untouched. He has no competition going up there. So I think that's like a big thing too. And then I had a train of thought. And I'm going to lose that train again like the last.
Okay. Can I interject while you're
Yes,
looking for your train?
absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit, since we're like talking about the spine and stuff, we get the first mention of the ruler of this land.
Oh, yes. Yes, I
Yep.
did want to talk about that.
The spine was one of the only places that King Galbatorix could not call his own. Well, Galbatorix is a name we selected.
Yeah, Galbatorix is a big one.
Yeah. Is it the second name we've gotten? Yes, because the Shade doesn't have a name. No one else had a name.
Yep.
Eragon, like Allegasia. We're getting a lot of like proper nouns in this one, but like Galbatorix. Guess who's the villain based on their name? There's an X in there.
There is an X in there, yeah. Galbatorix is a mouthful. And it's interesting because we learn like he hasn't conquered the spine, or so we're told.
Yeah.
And that's like, we're like, oh, that's interesting.
Yes, stories were still told about how half his army disappeared after marching into its ancient forest.
Which is wild. I feel like, you know, considering now and not spoiling anything, like, I feel like that's like tales people would say to be like, oh, the spine is so bad.
Yeah.
Even Galbatorix. Like, but I don't necessarily, we don't like us as the readers is like, oh, interesting. But like looking back at it and speculating, it's like, we don't know if that's actually true or not in this moment. I don't even know if that's ever explained or not.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're like, wait, I don't even know if that's true. I wonder if it is just like the boogeyman story almost.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. It does, I think, signify like the structure of it is like kind of indicating, oh, the king is not someone that at least Eragon likes.
Yeah.
Like, or does not have warm feelings towards, because the phrase like call his own.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you have like leadership or monarchy that is liked or viewed like in like warmly by citizens or by a character, it would be like, oh, is the only one the kingdom could not call their own, and like would include themselves in it. But having it just be Galbatorix cannot call his own.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like interesting. Okay.
It is. It does do the whole controlling aspect.
I think this chapter is a lot about getting how characters feel about other characters. Like, that is what is said.
The vibe.
It's all about the vibe.
It's all about the vibes. About like what's going on. And then one of the things that I want, kind of like jumping back into town, because that's like when he's coming into, I also think like okay, I branched off, and now I'm taking a step back to branch off again. I do think it's a really good way of Eragon traversing back into town, which gives him plenty of thinking time, which allows him to think about the world, which allows us to learn about the world.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good way to like split up time. And I think, again, in one of my like how to make your writing better, it's like one of the you don't want to like, so if you want to do time jumps, you don't want to sit there and be with the person and like every minute of the way, because we don't want to be with Eragon like the 2 days it takes for him to hike back into Carvahall. That would be a lot, and we don't necessarily need every minute of it. So I do think Paolini does a really good job with how he wakes up, he gets ready for the day, and then he treks, and then we learn a little bit about the world. We just like watch him trek around, and then he settles down for the night, and then he wakes up, and then he does the whole thing again, and then he gets to Carvahall. And I think it's really, really, really flowing, and it takes him a full day because he gets into Carvahall when it's dusk and or night. Yeah. And so I think he does a really good job with that time skip because, again, it allows us to learn about the world and Allegasia and all these things, which I really like.
Yeah, and in a way that's not like him weirdly like thinking about the history or like thinking about like how Gavatorks rise to power. Like it does make sense for his thought just to be like he's still in the spine, so he thinks briefly about like the king can't even claim it because it's so dangerous, so I gotta be careful, and it's really more about Eragon's relationship to the environment he's around, and I like that. Yeah. There's a lot of scenery descriptions.
It's a lot of it's beautiful scenery, but it is a lot.
That's again not bad. It's just
not bad.
Personally, I'm like,
yeah,
pretty mountains. I live in pretty mountains. I'm not impressed.
That's fair. We do have the Rocky Mountains, so it's like, oh yeah, and I think that's cool because it's like there's a lot of people who like don't live with mountains, so it's hard for them to visualize it. And so for me, I'm like, oh yeah, mountains. Like it's so easy to just picture, or like having camped like in the mountains and like imagining coming out of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I get it.
I got that. I totally get it. I don't need you to describe it to me. Yeah, I guess that is a good point. Folks who like when I travel and end up in places where there aren't mountains, vaguely uncomfortable.
It's really weird. Yeah. I remember we did my family like years ago did a trip. We drove to Wisconsin and like we hit like flatlands, and it was the weirdest thing ever. I did not like it. I'm like, where the hell are the mountains?
Yeah, like, it's surreal. It is spooky. One thing I want to clock is that Eragon does, even though he's like thinking about the world and stuff, he doesn't think about the stone until he tries to
sell it. Yep.
Like it's not like this thing is something he's like can't stop thinking about, keeps going back to. Like it's even like this. That's something we talked about before, where it's like, well, we know because we know the book that this is clearly at the Dragon's Egg. Yeah. But it is so, and we know it's important because of the prologue, because there were people fighting over it, killing for it, like sacrificing themselves to protect it. Like it's clearly important. But it is so well written that this thing that we, the reader, know is important, even if we don't know why yet, it's not important to Eragon, except for that maybe I can use it to get food.
Yeah, and it only, like, I like what you said, because it only comes back into his, like, conscious thought, more or less, when he gets to town. He's like, okay, now I'm going to try to sell it. And that's when the stone comes back into play and everything. No, but I agree. Yeah,
he has it for, like, 2 days as he's coming back out of the mountains, and he does not spend every night gazing at it or thinking about its mystery. He's like, nah, all right, I got it. Cool, I'm gonna get some food from it.
Exactly. But the one thing that I was gonna mention.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you're good, because I went off on a tangent and then didn't go off on original tangent. We're getting to know these certain characters and how they feel about one another, and then we also get the connection of why Katrina might have stepped in for Eragon is because, like, I don't think she stepped in because of her relationship with Rowan, but I think it was like a factor of like, I view Eragon as a little brother, and so she wants to help him and protect him, kind of thing. So because we do get like Eragon, and I really like this part because I think it's beginning of the next chapter, which we won't talk about just yet, but it's Eragon gives Rowan's words to Katrina without flinching. Like, he's a little embarrassed about it, but he doesn't have a problem saying what he says, which I think is hilarious.
Like, he does hesitate because he's like, oh, I was supposed to give Katrina a message. He wants her to know that he'll come to town as soon as the merchants arrive and that he will see her then. That all? Eragon was slightly embarrassed. No, he also wants her to know that she's the most beautiful girl he's ever seen, and he thinks of nothing else.
Yep. And that tone is exactly how the narrator says it in the book too. He's like, she thinks of nothing, he thinks of nothing else. Like, just like, oh my God, I can't believe he's making me say this.
And actually, I think Eragon's like, actually, I'm more comfortable delivering this to Horse than I would be just saying it to Katrina's face.
Yeah.
And then he'd have to deliver a message from Katrina
Yeah.
to Rowan. And it's like, nope, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, no.
So we get that. It's like, ooh. And how, like, like, they clearly, like, don't want Sloane to know, probably.
Yeah.
That's how he treats Eragon. He can't be that big of a fan of his cousin.
Yeah. And it's also kind of, it's also described earlier as how Sloane is so protective and doting on his daughter.
Yes.
So he's probably of like the mindset of no man is good for my daughter or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably has a lot to do with it too.
Oh, for sure. And I think also, like, just that element of, because we learned, like, the blacksmith's son, the reason he's like, oh, Eragon, like, nah, keep your weird stone. You can just work for me in the spring. Because his son is leaving to go be a master craftsman elsewhere. He's and then learning that this character we just met, Katrina, has a relationship with Rowan, also just kind of makes the world bigger.
Yep.
These characters have lives and things going on before the start of the story and outside of, like, Eragon.
Yep.
He is not, at this point, like, the center of anyone's universe. Everything kind of is just going on around him, and nothing really, like, it doesn't really have anything to do with him.
Yeah, it's very much, it helps make the world real. Like, it really, really gives it a more, things are going on and stuff is happening, like, outside of stuff. That was going off on a small tangent, hopefully, in Skyrim. When I first played Skyrim, I thought it was wild that there were characters in other places, like, even when I wasn't there, doing their own thing. Like, there are certain parts where you walk into, oh gosh, I can't remember it. The place with the Forsworn, the city there. And you walk, Markarth? I think it's Markarth.
Cool.
You walk into Markarth the first time, and it triggers an event where a dude stabs a woman, and, like, in the name of the Forsworn or something like that.
Okay.
But the characters will do their own things and walk around and do it even when you're not there. And I just thought that was so cool. It just made the world, like you said, so much bigger and more realistic than it would if I just kind of went into town and everyone bloop and then they did their
thing.
own thing. So
yeah, I think the last character I really wanted to, like, interrogate a little bit was Garo, the uncle.
yes,
because he's not the warmest guy.
no,
The first thing he tells Eragon is that Rowan's sleeping. Like, when Eragon gets home and he opens the door, he doesn't get, like, warmth or, like, a friendly greeting.
like, you've been gone for 3 days.
5 days.
Yeah, 5 days. That's right.
Yeah. I don't think that necessarily tells us that, he's, like, a bad parent or bad, like, guardian or bad person, though he's described as being a lean and hungry face. So clearly a man who's perhaps has not had the easiest life.
Yep.
So he's a little bit harsher and, like, jumps straight to the point.
Yep.
And he's not super psyched about Eragon taking he's like, I didn't accept charity. Horse agreed to let me work off the debt this spring.
Yep.
And where are you going to get all the time to work for him? Are you going to ignore all the things that need to be done here?
Yep.
Eragon's like, I don't know.
I'm trying, Uncle. Like, I'll figure it out. Yeah.
He's like, it might be nice. Whatever. But at the end, when Eragon says, it's good to be it's good to be back, Garo's eyes softened and he nodded. So we get that he does love his nephew.
Yeah.
He has affection for Eragon, and I think it's interesting to, like, set up, like, this is just, like, what Eragon's regular life looks like. And it's utterly unremarkable.
Yeah.
His cousin has a crush. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, it's just, he's on a farm, and they're doing the best they can with what they got. Like, and I just agreeing what you said, so. But continue to what you were saying.
Now I'm just gonna list off the things we already learned.
Yeah, I really like the fact that it does show us, and it's unremarkable in the scheme of what the inheritance cycle or Eragon series like promises us.
Yeah,
like, because it promised, there's a big dragon on the cover, and we're like, ooh, adventure, and there's like little there's little touches of it throughout, and like with the prologue being full of magic and this stone, and what is this quotes, what is this stone, and like things like that. But and then it goes into this basically normal average life in a very small town, and being a part of a farm on the outskirts of this town. And I also think it's talked about how the farm is on the outskirts of town,
Mhm.
and how they're actually at a disadvantage because if anything happens to the farm, they can't get protection from the rest of the village.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned that Garo has been very stubborn about that,
Yeah.
about getting closer. And that makes me think, like, I think he does have this very attitude of, like we can do our own, like, they don't need to fend for us. And it
very prideful.
Yeah, very prideful. For me, it also just speaks on how tough his life must have been to, like, harden him in such a way.
Yeah.
And just, like, because he's, like, I think he grudgingly accepts that Eragon, okay, at least he didn't just pay for it. You did say that you can work for it back. And I'm like, okay, that's, even though he came up, well, where are you going to expect the time?
It's like walking in,
I
your
think he
parents
did.
Like, what about this? What about this? You're like, I just walked in the door.
Yeah, I just
like,
walked in the door. I think it does have that very big aspect of it. But I think, yeah, and I don't, like, it's like, like you said, Garo comes off as very, like, stern. He doesn't say, like, welcome home, or give him a hug, or like, so good to see you. But he does, like, he's like, okay, I can see you've had you're back after 5 days. Go to bed. Like, after interrogating, go to bed.
Yep, that's his love language.
Yeah,
go to bed. What is our writing takeaway, you think, for this chapter? What did we learn? I
think we learned not. I feel like this is going to be a strong point throughout the whole book is the showing, not telling. Specifically in this case, the relationships between Eragon and the characters. How he doesn't say he had a good relationship with Horst and he had a bad relationship with Sloane because blah blah blah. He Paolini showed us the relationships, and even with, like, Katrina coming in and stepping in, there's a relationship there. And that we see that. We don't wait. We are shown that. We are not told that. Like I said, I think that's going to be the driving force of this. I think he does a really good job at showing, not telling. And it's shown time and time and time again. But what do you think?
Well, I think that's the same thing, but I would also maybe like to be hyper specific for this chapter. It's being able to demonstrate, like, a lot of relationships in a quiet moments. Because I think this chapter is very sleepy.
Yes.
Like, it's very, like I said, like, whatever, quiet normal, even though he's, like, coming out of the mountains, but nothing really happens there. He tries to do the trade with the butcher, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't go great, but, like, nothing happens there.
Yep.
He goes home, gets in a little bit of, but, like, nothing happens there. But in all those beats, it is getting to know where Eragon stands in his world. So I think for me, it's, like, not being afraid to let things be quiet and explore the space in the quiet.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like, and then this happened, and then the dragon came swooping down. It doesn't have to be action every chapter. And I think, like, just building off of what you said, in those quiet moments, it allows us to learn more about the characters, more about the world. It's world building in those quiet moments, which is equally important as to action.
For real.
Characters. Characters is equally important as action scenes. So,
yeah.
Nodding.
Did we do it?
I think so. I think that covers it. Like you said, it's a very sleepy chapter. There's not really much to really dissect too much in it. But yeah, I think we did a good job.
Fantastic. Well, in that case, thank you so much for joining us again, listeners. Did you like the chapter summary? I hope so, because we're going to do it in the next episode that we're about to record. Did you not like the chapter summary? Let us know when we actually start uploading. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so on Instagram at EragonPod or send an email to eragonpod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week, and until then, she's Lucy Hart.
And she's Darien Smartt.
And this was Eragon.
And back again.